against hearsay and Christmas.
Okay, Representative Chavez.
Thank you for the opportunity to appear before your panel to discuss House Joint Resolution 22, which is co-sponsored with Representative Espinosa. This proposes an amendment to Article 20 of the Constitution of New Mexico to define marriage as the union of one man and one woman, and to provide that New Mexico does not recognize marriages, civil unions, or similar relationships entered into by persons of the same sex in another state or foreign jurisdiction. I have introduced this legislation because I believe that the people of New Mexico and the state of New Mexico feel strongly about this issue, and that should have the opportunity to decide this issue. And that our state attorney general, in issuing his recent legal opinion, ignored that fact. In my view, the attorney general's opinion is just that, an opinion. It has not been vetted by the judiciary, the legislature, or the people of New Mexico. I'm concerned that it allows people to circumvent our laws by going to other states and jurisdictions to obtain same-sex marriages or civil unions, and then get the state of New Mexico to recognize the marriage as valid. People of the same sex cannot get married in New Mexico. They should not be allowed to get married in other jurisdictions and have New Mexico recognize them as having a valid and legal marriage or civil union. New Mexico is only one of 2 states, New York being the other state, that allows this practice. 29 states have constitutional bans against same-sex marriage, while another 13 states have statutory bans on this practice. This resolution would allow the people of New Mexico to settle this issue once and for all, and I defer to Representative Espinosa.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, committee member. Boy, twice in your committee. But I've been here in front of you with this same bill, and all we're asking is to allow the citizens of this great state to vote so that we can put this to rest, whether they want or agree with same-sex or they don't. And I think we're at that time and that we should allow the citizens of New Mexico to vote and express exactly what it is that they want this law and how they want this law. Thank you.
Thank you. The representative and I had talked about he wanted to keep this brief. Did you have anyone who was going to testify in favor?
We do. Tony Ramirez. Tony.
Go ahead. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair. Again, Madam Chair, thank you, and representatives, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of HJR 22. My name is Tony Ramirez, and as a voting citizen, I'm asking you to pass this amendment for several different reasons. First of all, repeatedly, the citizens of our great state have shown their support for some sort of law, resolution, or amendment defining marriages between a man and a woman. Unfortunately, a very vocal minority keeps trying to push the personal agenda on the majority of the people. In so doing this, we are ignoring the will of the people. Please listen to the people who have elected you to represent their will instead of fearing a few vocal people. Please bring HJR 22 to the floor and hear the voice of the people. However, possibly to even table this resolution would be saying that the voice of the people doesn't matter. Unfortunately, this issue is sure to keep coming up again and again, year after year, session after session. It's time that the voice of the people either vote this up or vote this down. Please settle this issue once and for all by not allowing a progressive mindset or an opinion to trample on the sanctity of marriage. Again, I remind you that this issue will not be going away. It's time to hear the voice of the people. Respectfully, I ask that you pass this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Is that all? Okay. And I have, and the opponents of the legislation have also agreed to just have 2 people speak. But let me see by a show of hands those in opposition. And, okay, who's going to speak? I beg your pardon?
Is there in the audience those for? Did we ask?
I did ask.
Oh, okay.
Did I ask?
No.
No.
I'm sorry. Those in favor of the resolution? Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you, Representative. Okay, who's going to speak this morning? Jacob?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jacob Candelaria from Albuquerque, and I work for Equality New Mexico, which is a civil rights organization that works to make a better and more equal New Mexico for all of us. We stand in strong opposition to this resolution for a number of reasons. First, I think it's important to note that a few months ago, national poll published by Public Policy Polling found now that 70% of New Mexicans want some kind of legal protections for their friends and neighbors who are sharing their lives in committed, stable, healthy relationships. 45% of New Mexicans now support a recognition of same-sex marriage, showing that for the first time in history, more New Mexicans now support the rights and protections for their friends and neighbors than oppose them. You know, this issue becomes all too human and all too painful for too many, and it is brought up year after year. And I would simply ask that at a time when nearly 9% of New Mexicans remain unemployed, at a time where our economy continues to struggle, at a time where our nation continues to face some of the most difficult challenges it has ever faced in its history, that we're continuing to send these messages to thousands of New Mexico families that we should put them on the chopping block. You know, it's a seductive idea to send these kind of questions to voters, but I would support to the sponsor of the legislation, to the gentleman who spoke, that in this country we live in a Republican form of government. And the notion that the civil rights, that the protections, that the very well-being of some of us would be put up to be subject to the will of the majority is a fundamentally un-American idea. We protect and have a system of government in place so that those people who are unpopular today, those people whom can be stood up and spoken against, and political points can be scored on those kind of positions, are protected. And that's why we have a House of Representatives and a Senate, to make sure that we have the protections to guard against the kind of efforts by the majority to go after those who are voiceless. So I ask you today to, in times as you've done in years past, to again be the voice of the voiceless, to stand up for those people who can't be here today to speak for themselves, and for the thousands of New Mexico families who are just trying to lead their lives like any other family in this state. And I ask you to really stand on the side of history, and in this vote today, do ensure that that arcs, as Reverend King said, towards justice and not towards discrimination. And Madam Chair, if you'd allow me, the other speaker we'd like to introduce is Councilwoman Patty Boucher from the city of Santa Fe.
Good morning, Chairwoman and committee members. Happy Valentine's Day. Ironic that we hear this today. I'm here to read just a few paragraphs from an emergency resolution that was unanimously passed by the Santa Fe City Council, and then I would like to speak personally as well. The Santa Fe City Council I introduced a resolution and the council unanimously passed, including the mayor, in opposition, a resolution in opposition of House Joint Resolution 22, and I'm just going to read 3 paragraphs. Whereas House Joint Resolution 22 also proposes that the resolution be submitted, whereas the result of an election approving the language contained in House Joint Resolution 22 would result in discrimination against a class of people in New Mexico and would infringe upon the human and civil rights of people throughout New Mexico. And whereas the citizens of Santa Fe, in adopting Article 2.02 of the Santa Fe Municipal Charter, have recognized that human and civil rights of the residents of Santa Fe are inviolate and shall not be diminished or otherwise infringed. And whereas the city of Santa Fe is comprised of many different types of families and cultures, including families who have lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered members, and each family member is entitled to enjoy the same human and civil rights. So we unanimously ask you to please oppose and turn down this joint resolution. And I want to speak personally to the effect that I am an elected member, a representative, a voice for the people of Santa Fe. And I am given the authority to create laws for the city of Santa Fe. And yet, in my personal life, I would be unable to actually marry the person I love. I just find that just very objectionable. And I ask that you, I think Mr. Candelaria was very articulate in what your job is here as the representative for the citizens of New Mexico. And I ask you to stand in opposition to this resolution.
Thank you very much. So that's all the testimony we're going to take, and we're going to go to members of the committee at this time. Is there discussion? Let me just say that, then, that I think Mr. Candelaria's testimony made it really clear, my feelings really clear, and that is that if we actually subjected civil rights questions to the voters, we would not have African Americans would not have civil rights in the South. If the voters of Alabama had been able to decide whether or not people could vote, or go to college, or have equal education, it would never have happened. And there are certain areas where the representative democracy, where the elected officials really have to take over. So I will move to table this bill this time.
I'll second the motion, Madam Chair.
Second, from Representative Meneses. Is there objection to table the motion? Chair Representatives Anderson and Keith are voting in the negative. All others voting in the affirmative. And your bill is tabled. And thank you all very much for being here today. And we are adjourned.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And your candy is